All right, so on this episode of BS Talk, we're going to talk about open-mindedness and closed-mindedness in the field, and what we feel is the difference. What do you consider yourself, more open or more closed?
Given the fact that whenever I'm doing an investigation and I am legitimately skeptical about like what's out there and like what is evidence and what's not evidence and all that fun stuff, I would say, given how much I've produced, I would say I'm very open-minded.
Yeah, I'm going to be more open-minded, obviously more as the believer, but I'm more, after the truth. Like how many bug noises did we hear or wood creaks and, we didn't blow it up. We didn't try to say, oh, that's a Bigfoot out there. Well, no, it's just a woodpecker pecking a tree, or something like that. And how I know we're both more after the truth, the real evidence, what's really out there, what's not, what's fake, what's real. And, we try not to be so closed-minded on, I'm not closed-minded on, oh, that was a Bigfoot or that was a ghost. And I try to be more open-minded of, was that somebody up there we didn't see or out there we didn't see,
Yeah.
And I think we're,
go ahead.
Even both of us being on different sides of it's real, it's not, we're both very much on, let's get the real hard facts, let's get the real evidence.
Yeah. And, we started this whole thing a year ago, and last summer when we were filming everything for the series for season 1, like there were only those 2 instances where my skepticism was just absolutely pushed to its limit.
Yeah.
And one might consider it closed-minded for me to still hold on to some doubt after those events, but at the same time, if there is a logical plausibility, should that not also be entertained? Isn't that part of being open-minded as well?
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I want to say, as we're in the staircase hearing somebody sing, well, I was a big baby, and we didn't go back up there to make sure, and I think if we'd have went right back up and found nobody there, I think that would have, to me, would have closed the book, closed the chapter. This was real. This was a real thing. And for me to be closed-minded and say, oh, that was a ghost, I can't. I'm still open-minded about maybe somebody followed us. Even though we know there's only 2 ways to get up there, we went up one, down the other. So,
and we didn't hear the elevator at all.
Right. We didn't hear the elevator. We would have heard that. There's a lot. It was real creaky in that hotel. I think you would have heard somebody walking, moving some things. But I still can't be closed off and say that was real, because, But again, it was our first time where we were green, we were new. Next time we're going to be more ready to say, okay, we got to go back and do this. It's happening. We need to go right now. And that just attributes to a lot of just being new at it.
Yeah.
And I think after the first season, it really changed how we're both doing this. I think we were almost closed-minded going in to investigate, and that really changes how you do the job. If you're too closed-minded, it's, as a non-believer, you're like, oh, that was a noise. Well, that was just a bug, or that was just a wind. And as a believer, I'm like, oh, no, that was a ghost, or that was a Bigfoot, or whatever we're hunting, aliens, whatever we decide to go after. I think you can see it through the season how we changed, how we both were different as far as how we were investigating, what we were willing to do, and listen to, and say, okay, let's try to figure it out. I think if we were really closed-minded, we would have left that hotel in Georgia after the first night, and then we stayed a second night to try to prove it or disprove it.
Yeah.
And I think being closed-minded really kills the investigation.
I agree.
You can't just go in one way and be like, this is it, this is how it has to be, so let's prove it or disprove it. It's good to have both sides, but...
Well, and I think that narrow-mindedness goes to both ways, right? Like, the main reason I think that I'm not immediately shut down as a skeptic is because I go in and I use the tactics of believers. Like, I've paid attention, like, everything right up there, and the shelf underneath it, actually, it's all literature on paranormal. I did my research, you know, if they, like, offered a degree in paranormal research, I could probably earn that one very quickly as well. Because, like, I really did my due diligence and, like, okay, I really don't believe in this stuff. How do I do this in a way where I'm using the tools in the right way at the right time in the right manner, and I'm following all the rules of respect of, you know, just going in and not there to mock or denigrate in order to find a result. The only time I get disrespectful is when I have no type of interaction whatsoever, and then I'll get a little mocky, a little testy in my attitude and vernacular just to try to get a result. And that's if nothing else is happening.
Yeah, sometimes you can get that. Well, I mean, I've had a question. I was talking about how we changed through the whole season. Do you think, was it Hotel de Funiac, you had that experience with?
Yeah.
Do you think you would have handled that differently or changed your thinking of it if it had happened at the end of the season as opposed to the beginning when you were there and you're a little more open-minded at the end? Do you think it would have changed anything?
No, because even now, when something happens, I will say my instincts change. Because now when something happens, I immediately say, okay, what equipment do I have on me that will most benefit me finding this right now? A great example was the episode of Patterson Inn, which dropped back in March. When I was at the Patterson, I was done with the investigation. I had my equipment kind of bundled up in my arms. I was going back up to the room. I walk into the room and I hear a voice. My instincts are different now. Instead of just sitting there and being reactionary, I immediately flip on the audio recorder. Immediately. And I caught that wonderful EVP at the end of the episode. And again, like, do I have a reasonable explanation for what it could have been? Yeah, I do. The only thing is in the case of de Funiac, in the case of the singing voice at Windsor, and in the case of that EVP at Patterson, those three things, because not all of them were evidence. The incident at de Funiac was an experience. So was the Windsor, because the audio was just so poor on it.
Yeah.
Those two things are more experience-based rather than evidence-based. Even though there is some audio with Windsor, I wish it was just clearer and better.
I wish it was as clear as it was standing there.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe if we had left an audio recorder up there, it would have caught it. But again,
experience.
Yeah.
Experience. We're going to know better.
But I think like my instincts have just improved. I've done 2 investigations this year so far. One's going to air, one is not. And I think that it's just like my mindset's different, but I'm still skeptical. Because I feel like even when I come up with reasonable doubt, it doesn't necessarily satisfy me. So, like, could someone have snuck up there at the Windsor before we even got up there?
Right.
Could someone have put a recording device, like an old school yak back, if you know what those are, or just like a remote recorder that plays back with a press of a button or something, and just pranked us in a very sophisticated way? Well, yeah, the timeline was a little awkward that night.
Yeah.
But is that a satisfying answer? No, it's not satisfying.
Right.
But it does leave doubt.
Yeah, it leaves doubt, but then, we always brought up the question of if they had a recorder, how would they have known what we were going to say or whatever?
Exactly. Again, it's not satisfying. It's not satisfying.
Right. And I think if we were so closed-minded, that whole thing would have been so weird. You would have been like, oh, it was this, and this, and I'd be like, well, no, it had to be real, and we would have clashed and butt heads and probably not even stayed another night and got even more evidence that we got the next day.
Yeah.
Man, that second night was good too, but I think being open-minded versus closed-minded just really changes everything. It changes
does.
So much. Because, I'm not so closed-minded to say everything is real. I know there's going to be things that happen that aren't real, things that happen that are real. And some things might be set up, some things might not be set up, which is out of our control, even though we're doing the best that we possibly can.
And we're also doing our best to actually search and look for anything that might be messing with our data.
Yeah. And I'm very open to say, well, let's go and let's make sure this actually did happen and it wasn't, somebody messing with us. Because I think you see a lot of that in every field that's out there. Everybody has their one opinion. That's it. They're closed off. Nothing else can be. It don't matter what you're talking about, even as simple as a car. So, and I think that helps. I know some people are going to watch some of our stuff and be like, well, this was really boring. There was nothing there. Well, that's part of being real. It's part of being open-minded and showing you. We want to show you how real we are, how open we are to say, look, we went here and we just didn't see anything. Nothing happened. Nothing. We heard nothing. We experienced nothing. And then it's also for other people to see, well, hey, I went there. This happened. I did this. And we can always go give it another shot.
Yeah.
I'm not against. There's probably like 2 places we've been that I wouldn't go back to, just because it wasn't the paranormal. It was. What do you say? The people, the hospitality, just wasn't there. I wouldn't go back. So,
and it's also important to note that we don't always air every little thing we do either. Like,
right.
we do cut a lot of stuff, and as previously stated, there's investigations that just don't make it because there are issues between us and the place or us and people involved. There was some incident that occurred that we're not going to put that on camera.
Right. And we don't want to make the places look bad either. If they do us wrong or something, we don't want to make them look bad. And because we're just not like that. I mean, we can't put everything out there. A 48-hour episode on the Windsor would be pretty boring.
Yeah. And not just 48 hours of just like evidence. Like every digital recorder, every video second, every picture, everything.
Right. I don't think they want to watch us. I mean, that's just 48 hours of recording. I don't think they want to watch us eating lunch and stupid things like that. While we're talking, but again, I'm open-minded to think, okay, the Dothan Opera House, we didn't get anything. Would I go back? Sure. I'm not against it. I know there was one part of that building we didn't investigate, and I would like to go back and do that. So I don't want to close that off. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like, no, just because we didn't get anything. Because I talk to personal people who've got so many experiences that we didn't get. So, man, there was another point.
So one of the things, our Instagram page is growing much faster than our YouTube channel or any other social media outlet. And one of the first things I ever posted on Instagram was the one of the orbs that, and I'm going to say orbs because I will say I'm a little closed-minded on orbs.
I'm almost closed-minded on orbs. I just because
it was the one from the Patterson Inn. It was the first public investigation of 2021. And there was that little orb that bobbed over here in the screen. You know, I'm just doing flash photography. And the way I do flash photography on my phone is I do a very short flash clip. So it's like 3 seconds of just video. And the picture's somewhere in the middle of it. Well, you can turn that entire segment into its own little MP3 video. And you can upload it, or MP4 video. And you can upload it to, you know, the computer as a video. And that's what I did this time, because it was just really wild that something came into the screen and then just bobbed up and down. Like, could it move? Yeah, because I was trying to think of bugs that just bob up and down like that, and I was like, well, on instinct, like a dragonfly, but there were no dragonflies in the hotel.
Yeah, it would have been
in fact, Eric and I didn't see very much dust, and we didn't see very many. We didn't see any bugs at all. And I went to some pretty old, creepy, like shut off parts of the building, and there was like they keep every square inch of that place clean. Like no insects, no nothing. So like I was like, okay, this is weird. But at the same time, like, what does that?
Right, and this is where what we're talking about, being closed-minded. We're both kind of closed-minded to orbs, because they can be dust, bugs, who knows? It can be anything, a flash on your camera. So is that blocking what possibly could be something, or us being closed-minded? Because I may not have been there, but it's an orb, and I'm just like,
yeah,
it's weird. It acted weird, because you had another orb moment where it kind of just went up, you know, and dust don't go up. Dust doesn't move up.
Bugs do, though.
Bugs do, right. And it did a weird little move and moved up, so we're kind of like, well, we'll put that in, but again, we were closed-minded to being anything.
But, and I think that's the beauty of the way we do handle those kind of situations, is even if it doesn't appeal to us and we're like, we think this is probably something physical, we still let our viewers make that choice for themselves.
Yeah. Like, we still put it in, say, hey, what do y'all think? You think this is real, not real, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
We may be closed-minded to it, but we're open to saying, hey, what do you guys think? That helps. That plays a big part, I think. Because again, with the orbs, I watched all the other shows, and I'm just like, it's just an orb. It's a light, or it's a piece of dust, or it's a bug. But.
Well, and one of the things we learned very quickly was with IR gear, with night vision gear, I mean, gosh, everything reflects some IR light. Everything.
You can't see half the stuff out there with your eyes that's out there. And
yeah.
Even with these contacts that, you know, see into the future I can't see half of what's going on. And that's what's amazing. And then you got to think, how much of that do you catch with your flash photography?
Yeah.
It's like the other instance at the Windsor when we were in the Roosevelt room, right? Yeah, the Roosevelt room. And you were taking the pictures, and you had that weird instance on 3 or 4 pictures. We tried to duplicate it. We couldn't duplicate it. So, but again, we were just kind of like, I feel like maybe we were both closed off to that because it was an orb type of deal. And
well, it was more of a mist. It was like that fog that just came over the lens, and to this day, I've never gotten anything like that.
Right.
Like I've gotten streaks of light, I've gotten pillars of light, I've gotten orbs that bob in the corner of the screen.
No fog.
no fog like that ever. Not since.
Yeah. And I don't know if it technically falls into the orb category, but to me, it's sort of like an orb. There's just so many different things that could be. It could be a bug flapping its wings really fast, or again, just dust really close. So, while we were there, I wanted to believe it was real. With the sounds we were hearing, with the chills and the instant heat and everything I was feeling, I wanted to believe it, but I just couldn't. I don't know. Maybe I was too closed off to it.
Well, and I'll tell you though, I think other than the voice we heard there, like, the only other thing that, like, I was really, really open to, and it was the first time, and so far the only time I've ever experienced this, is a phantom smell.
Yeah, that was weird.
The peach perfume, like that to this day, that leaves me like, okay, that whole place was just a little bit much. Like,
Listen, I'd be up to going back there. I'm just saying. Yeah, the smell was, and it was never in one spot.
yeah, it traveled along those stairs. Like, it was like halfway down the stairs into that hallway area and down the other stairs, and it would just vanish.
Oh,
And it was
so
a pattern.
weird.
Like, you could trace it, and it was wild.
Yeah, it was weird. But, that place was, wow.
Well, and I'm hoping that with some of the stuff we decide to do, some of the investigations we try to aim for this year, we take what we've learned about being closed-minded and open-minded. I hope we take some of our better instincts and really build on those and kind of let the worst of our instincts go.
Yeah.
And, I don't think there's a such thing as a professional or a perfect paranormal investigator. We're all kind of in this together. There are people with more experience than us. But I'll tell you, like, some of the things we found and some of the places we found are some of the best evidence ever found at those places.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember at the Windsor, they showed us some people that went in, and we got some crazier things than they did.
Yep. And
But then again, at Bellamy Bridge, you have the other team that got plenty or a few evidence, and we got nothing. So
yeah. And another great example is, again, like, Hotel de Funiac and the Patterson. Like, those are two places where I went in and got some of the best stuff from those places. I will say de Funiac had a team to go in, and they got some better stuff than we did. I was going to say more amazing, but, like, I would say it's just better. Maybe that's a little arrogance on my part, but the Patterson, like, the owner told me to my face, he was like, "You got better stuff than the TV show Portals to Hell with Jack Osborne did."
Wow.
Like, I felt pretty good about that.
And maybe there's something to say to that when you go in with a big production. Maybe it disturbs too much. And maybe the paranormal may not want to be found. And it's just something you got to think about. Maybe we're small enough with just enough equipment, which we could always get a little bit better equipment, but just enough equipment to pick up a lot of action that big production can't. They go in and they set up and they disturb a lot of the natural habitat of what's going on. Maybe there's something to be said for that. I don't know. I don't know if we can prove or disprove that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's, like, in the realm of proof or not. I guess as close as we could get is, like, set up a whole bunch of stuff in, like, a particular room, and test the theory of, if we get nothing with, like, 4 tripods out and 4 cameras and lights and all this other stuff, do we get less than we do when we're just you and me with a couple of cameras?
Well, we sort of did that at Windsor. Remember what was it supposed to be, the most haunted room or second most?
It was up there. It was a room with a bunch of stories. Yeah.
Yeah, and we set 2 cameras and the laser, and we set all kinds of stuff up and got nothing. I mean, we just watched 8 hours of nothing.
Yep.
And lots of record. And then in our room, we had 1 camera and 1 recorder. And I don't think we got anything overnight, but maybe that's something we can work on. Try to see if we can get some evidence for that. Maybe to help out other teams.
Yeah, I think it would be a great experiment. Just set up a control and then set up, other methods.
Yeah. Maybe to help other people try to get a little better with it too.
Yeah.
We're all out to help each other. It's not who's better than the other.
I think at the end of the day, like, there are people out there who they don't need the validation that someone like me needs.
Mhm.
Because again, like, I feel like we've had some pretty cool stuff happen, but again, it's not a clear EVP. Like, even the best one we have so far, that Patterson one, it was over my voice. You know?
Yeah.
Um, Again, there's enough doubt with the experiences at Defuniac and Windsor. Like, an apparition has not popped up in front of my eyes, and we do
That's
not
it.
have a clear, raw EVP. And
Right.
so, like, I still hold on to a great deal of my skepticism. And I think that's healthy. I think that that is part of being open-minded.
Yeah. I mean, you can't close yourself off. Can't close your mind off to be okay. All this was fake, even if you believe it's not real. Be open. It's changed you a little bit. I can tell in our talks and the way we interact now. You're not a believer. You're not like, oh yeah, it's all real, but you're open enough to say there's a possibility of something being here. Whether how big that possibility is, 2% or 98%, but I can tell from this time last year when we were talking to now, you're more open minded to say there's a possibility. You know what I mean? Um, I'm not going to say you, like I said, I don't know how much you believe or how open minded you are, but I know you are a little bit. And, you know, and I'm not fully closed minded to saying, no, they're 100% real. And some of the stuff, I mean, because we could probably disprove everything we've seen. Um, so, I mean, I'm not still on, I do believe, but there's still a little bit of open mindedness saying it could all be fake. You know, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. It's like, it goes back to the statement I made earlier, reasonable doubt. There's enough reasonable doubt there to suggest that maybe it wasn't what it seemed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I can't be closed off to saying it's real. You know, I have to keep an open mind.
Well, how often in life are things 100%?
Oh, well, you're 100% going to pay taxes and 100% going to die. So, you know,
A few things, but like,
that's it.
really
That's all
though.
I can think of.
I mean, and by the way, tax fraud is a thing.
That's true. That's true. You can get away with it if you can. I've yet to figure out how, but, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, this is our first episode of BS Talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Just we're going to talk about random objects, random things, random subjects. Whether we're talking about something of paranormal or a tool that we've used.
Yep. Next week, I think you selected us to talk about our audio recording equipment.
Yep. And how surprising it was that was the best tool we had.
Still is. We get
One
more
of the
audio
cheapest
data.
and one of the cheapest tools, but boy, it was one of the best. I'll tell you.
Yep.
It blew me away.
All right. Until next time. I'm
Until next
Scott.
time.
I'm the SMBS.
I'm Bradley. I'm the BMBS.
We'll see you next time.
See you.